Got it.
All right, guys, I have a fun interview for you today. Today I'm going to be chatting with Crystal MacConnell, and she's going to be participating in the 2023 Death Race. And I thought this would be a super interesting, fun, educational topic to kind of have her tell us about her experience and why she got into this and what she wants to get out of it. So, Crystal, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, this will be fun. So why don't we just start with this and let our listeners know a little bit just about you and what do you do and all that good stuff.
Okay, well, like most people, I started OCR back in 2019. I think December 2018 was my first race. I did the sprint, totally fell in love with the mud and climbing on things. There was a big tornado storm that was happening and everything got shut down, and it sparked that fire. And 2019 totally went all out. 2020 everything got shut down, and when that happened, I got involved in the endurance side of Spartan, and that it changed my life completely. You gain a family, you learn something at each event. Each one is different. And I came across Death Race back probably when I was looking into Spartan at the very beginning, and that seed was planted. It's not something like most people look at Death Race and they get really scared and they're like, oh my goodness, there's no way that I could ever, like, why would anybody want to do that? And it stayed there and it stayed with me and it kept growing, and I needed the experience. And so I went for summer, and that totally miserably failed, but I learned so much. It happened exactly how it was supposed to happen. And went back last summer and had one of the best experiences of my life. I love that mountain. If anybody has the opportunity to go up to Vermont and play on that mountain, do it. That's all I have to say is just do it. So I'm going for winter, and that's going to be an adventure.
Yeah, obviously the winter versus summer, that's a huge difference there. So when you first kind of got into this side of it, you said you switched over to more endurance. What was was that Death Race your first endurance experience, or did you kind of do something to build up to that?
I built up to it. So I started at a 4-hour hurricane heat in Kissimmee, Florida. And it was actually in June. So it was a year that I had between the first hurricane heat and the first Death Race. And I remember Cryptea, Ben, told everybody that we were going to have 1,500 lunges, and my heart sank. I had 2 jugs of water, 20 pounds in like a broken backpack. And I was like, okay, I got this, kind of. And as terrified as I was, it changed me. It broke down barriers that OCR couldn't do. Like OCR is like that distance. Like as soon as you finish a sprint, you're done. Like that's it. Don't get me wrong. It's a wonderful, marvelous feeling, and it's accomplishment and everything. But then there's the unknown, and it's like, what can these guys come up with that is absolutely ridiculous for 4 hours? That's exciting for me. I find it very exciting.
Yeah. Was there at any point, so how many people did that first one do you remember?
Oh goodness. I think I want to say there was about 35 of us.
Okay. And how many made it through?
I believe everybody made it through on that one.
Okay, cool.
It was a 4 hour. So usually the 4 hours, it's team based. So usually everybody graduates from a 4 hour. 12 hours, a little bit more sticky. Get individual events, and then you get points involved. Then you have the 24 hours, which is, I knew that life started at the end of that 24 hours. And that's when it's more individual. The points are a lot more difficult. You don't want to lose your points. You want to make sure your memory's on game and you eat food the whole time. And Death Race is just, there's no rules. Everything's out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes it, with all these races, like you said, that unknown, um, definitely adds a different layer to it. So now with Spartan, in all the obstacle course races, they put the map out and everybody wants, is dying to see that map so they can see what they're getting in for. But I have to imagine just you don't know. You have an idea, right? You're going to be doing hard stuff. So what kind of mentally are you doing beforehand and physically to prepare yourself for just that scenario of just not knowing what to do?
Well, physically, I do a lot of burpees. I started doing pencil rolls. I am a professional pencil roller. Um, I play in the rain a lot. Every time it's raining here, I find a way to run outside and do burpees in the biggest puddle I can find because I find that amusing. I carry weird random stuff. I do landscaping for a living. I've done it for years. So I have like that knowledge and ability to work for long hours doing like manual labor.
Mhm.
But as far as like training for hurricane heats, it boils down to being able to think outside the box. You know, you have to have your patience, and it teaches you a calmness that you don't necessarily get from like the OCR side of Spartan. Um, you can train to run, and I still run. Haven't been doing as much running as I should. That's on me. Uh, Long story, but uh, snow is going to be more snowshoes and sliding. So hopefully that comes out to my advantage. Um, but just you want to stay like have that same cardio and being able to carry weight for a long distance or a period of time. For a 4 hour, if anybody wants to try a 4 hour, I would say just do it.
Yeah.
Just sit up and just do it. You learn as you go. You really do. Let's see what else. But yeah, like you were saying, like the OCR side, you can totally train for that. You can climb ropes every day, and you can train on monkey bars, and you can train your grip, and you can train, you know, how to do that, how to go over a wall and get your heart rate back down to be able to perform better. Hurricane heats, you just you just don't know. You don't know. I'm going into one tomorrow up in Central Florida. I have no idea. They threw a tarp and a ball at us. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, but I think kind of your work and like you said, just kind of doing hard stuff is probably the most important thing, where whether it's like a more traditional training thing where it's like I really don't like doing running in the
Yeah.
rain, or something like that. I don't want to do. It's like those are probably the things you need to find, the things you just really don't want to do, and just go do them.
Like those ice baths. Really?
Yeah.
Florida girl. I
Yeah.
water. No, but got to do it.
Yeah.
Just it's the mental thing. It's getting over that mental barrier and training yourself to know that you can and you will.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely. So, okay, so let's go now. Your first death race. So how well, you kind of told us how it went, but like, so what happened in there, and then what did you take from it, I guess?
okay. This is where they caught me crying. First death race, the biggest learning lesson of my life. What happens is, so I talked Yara into signing up for death race with me.
Mhm.
And she did. She made it. She's a badass. I love that girl to pieces. But I think the nerves got to me right off the bat. So it was really hard to even get food in me prior to going. We got there. They immediately started yelling. I had Dawn give me a flower. I was like, oh, a flower. I can keep this alive. I know how to keep flowers alive. I was totally lost. I had to find my bib in the middle of the pond. My bib, of course, was in the middle of the pond. And I was in there for probably about 45 minutes. That is one thing you don't want to do, is be in the middle of that pond, whether it's summer or whether it's winter, for 45 minutes. Water went warm. I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. I did find the bib. I found everybody else's bib before finding mine.
Mhm.
Make it up the mountain. It was raining at this point, so that was another added adventure side. Got lost
Mhm.
mountain. I have been lost on this mountain now so many times that I know it forwards, backwards, up and down, the whole 9 yards. Found a bucket in the boondocks during a hour event. That was fun. So I just got up to the top. They gave me a broom. I was like, oh, okay, I'm last. This is okay. This is a first experience of being last. Never kind of been in that predicament before. And then got in my head. And so when I got back down and everybody else had already made it down there, it grounded me so fast. And I was like, I told Andy I just couldn't do it. And I wanted to pull, and I think it was like 4 hours in, and they wouldn't let me. And so I continued to go, and I'm very thankful that nobody let me quit, and I still was in there, and I made it until about, I think it was 4:20 a.m. 4:20 a.m. And I was medically pulled because my knees got really swollen, and I was tapped. I was tapped on so many levels. It was not good. I made it halfway up to the top of Blood Route and dropped my pack. And it gave me a good baseline and showed me that I can go farther than what I perceived and to keep going. So I took a lot of lessons out of that first death race. It still scares you because you just don't know. But when you go in again, you're on a different level with different goals in mind, and you kind of have more, like, the terrain was more familiar. And that first time, it peeled so many layers of an onion that I was like, okay, this is Crystal, and this is you becoming who you are, and you're about to find it. And so I kept going, and I spent the next year training for summer 2022. Yeah. So
So what did you kind of focus on, knowing, okay, I did it, this is what happened? So kind of what was your approach so that wouldn't happen
eating.
again, at least? Okay. Yeah.
Eating is huge. If you don't know how to eat properly, you should just tap out now. Like, eating is a huge, and eat real food. Anything past 12 hours, you can eat real food. Even to a 4-hour event, I take real food just because I can't do the bar thing. I'm known to swing macaronis and cheese on the fly and heat up croissants on a fire.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember doing an ultra, and I brought baked potatoes, and with oil and salt, and I was like, I can do a goo or something if it's like 1, 2, but when I have to do it for hours, there's just no way. It's like, it's hard. I'm not saying I like loved eating potatoes, but it made the biggest difference to have like actual food to eat and swallow and all that.
It makes the world of difference. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even pizza. Like, I had 24 hours at the top of Joe's Mountain. I got lost for 4. I found my way back after not being attacked by a bear or a moose. Somehow grabbed pizza out of my pack and was like literally shooting rounds up and down the mountain, stuffing pizza in my mouth.
Whatever it takes. I have actually a colleague I work with, and he's an ultra runner, just does these crazy, just running road races, things like that. And he'll always like joke, he's like, it's an eating contest with running in between. That's all it is. It's like you're just eating what, like, burgers and donuts, and like they're just trying to, because they're going for ridiculous amounts of time and miles. So they just have to eat, and that's what they can get down.
All the food. It's great.
Yeah.
So let's see. So yeah, I took a lot out of the 2021 summer death race. And I guess it really just set the tone for what to expect. And, you either love it and you want more or you don't.
Mm.
And it's obviously, I am going back for more. I'm definitely going back for more.
Yeah. So, okay, so you're in Florida.
I'm
So why why do you want to do the 2023 winter death race?
So I was up there in winter for, I saw them. I saw them last year doing winter, and I was up there for Snow Devil. And I love the snow. Like, I haven't seen snow for probably about 30 years. And I was up there and everything was silent. Like, there's spots on that mountain and it is just, it glitters. Like, everything was white and the wind came through the trees and everything sparkled and it was silent. And I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And even knowing, like, I saw Julie and I saw Bo and they kept on going and I was totally there rooting them on, but there was like that part of me that was like, you should have been here. Like, why weren't you there? Why weren't you there with everyone? And I think I was just terrified, to be honest with you. I was terrified of the pond. I didn't know how my body would react to being up there and to being in snow and to getting in very, very cold water. That water is super cold. So I wanted to test the waters as far as that went with Snow Devil. And I ended up doing 19 miles instead of just the 13, because if Andy and Don look at you and say you're going again, you go. And so off I went back up the mountain. And I don't regret any of it. And so there's part of me, if I did summer, why not do winter? I know I can last the hours. I'm not worried about the hours. I'm not, I like the elevation a lot better during winter. It doesn't seem as steep. Summer, it's like stone staircase. It's going to be that mile straight up. I think it's like 960 feet of elevation gain. Like, the trail system, it's up and down. Like, you're not going way off on the other side of the mountain. Snow Devil and what they do in winter, it's more weave throughout the trees. So the elevation it's more gradual, which is nice. And then I know not going up to the Blood Route, which I'm going to miss the pterodactyls, but it's a totally different ball of wax, a totally different experience. Why not?
Yeah. It's I mean, there's something about the snow, like you said. I mean, I grew up in New York and love being in snow and having
Lucky.
that, but there's a reason I live in California now. I had my share. So
I lived in tropical places my whole life. So between here, Costa Rica, Hawaii, I never really had snow. And I figured when I was little, and I love that. I love being on the ice. I always will be. It's like riding a bike for me for some reason. But it's just the snow. It's beautiful. It's like deadly plants. It's like always beautiful things ever. And the silence. I can't wait.
So on that topic, it's gonna be cold and you're gonna be in extreme harsh conditions. So what's your plan for dealing with hypothermia?
Luckily I do know what it feels like. I know the onsets. I know when my body starts to shut down. The confusion starts to set in. My face gets kind of swollen. I'm like, oh, this is not good. The water, obviously, you start to turn kind of warm. You're like, oh, this doesn't feel right when I'm still in here looking for things. So I did test that. I was on the AT at one point where it was like really super chilly and hiking. So I do know that layers are super important. Like, as long as I layer properly, I'll be okay. Making sure that I'm not overheating and over sweating, and making sure that, I do let air in, let things circulate. I got to keep my head warm. I got to keep my ears covered. Gloves, they come on and off. I'm most worried about my feet. to be honest. I know that I think Kelly had a bout with what was it, frostbite. So it's really keeping the feet really well taken care of, proper boots, making sure that, you know, the toes aren't turning colors, and know when to pull. I think that's another huge thing, because, you know, you get in that mindset that you're not going to quit and you're not going to give up, and, you know, but hypothermia is a very real thing, and that can be deadly. So knowing to listen to your body and knowing when to pull. Also, eating is going to be really important. So like you said, potatoes, I know that sweet potatoes are super good for cold weather, and just warm liquids. And, you know, hopefully my fire skills come in handy, and need to boil water. I have all that stuff always on me. So that's knowing my trees, knowing to cut down birch, and how to build a fire rapidly to stay warm. You have your Mylar blankets, and, you know, just being super aware of your surroundings at all times, because the snow is no joke, especially up there. Like, I know how to follow the trails and where I am, but there's still, like, that's a very real situation that has to be thought through. You know, you don't want to get too cold and start to turn blue, and then fingertips start to turn black, and you're like, oh, well, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up a great point of you know, kind of knowing when are you putting yourself in danger, and when is your mind saying, well, this is just hard. And I know
Yeah.
that's not an easy thing, right? Like, our mind is always going to start first, like, I don't want to do this, this is hard, I think I should quit. And you can definitely train yourself to kind of quiet those voices down, and do things you never thought you could do. But at the same time, there's a point where, yeah, you have to listen to certain things and say that now it's a health risk, not just
Yeah.
a toughness thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it really does boil down to exactly what you said. And, you know, you're always going to have, it's like, you know, when you start running and you're like, oh, you know, that first mile, you're like, oh, why am I doing this? And then you keep going, and eventually you can quiet those vices. But when it starts to get like your body is like physical, like your knees are swelling. Well, your knees, like, even in the first summer, like, my knees were going, they were tapped. I mean, they were they were so big. I was like, oh, that's not okay. Um, you know, and just listening to that, because at the end of the day, it's something I do. It's something I love to do. It's something that I find joy in. It's helped me become the woman I am today, and mentality and calmness and how I approach life. It will always be a part of me, but I still have 4 kids to take care of. Like, I still have a job, and I have my art. And if something happened to me where I lost all my fingertips because of hypothermia playing up in the mountains on the farm, like, that's not the brightest idea. So it really you have to be able to listen to that voice and know when to pull.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
important.
Um,
Very
so
important.
you've mentioned a few things already, but what would you say is like your biggest, like, what's the one thing you're afraid of, like, going into this? And it might be something you've already said, but, like, is there something that maybe they might have you do that is a challenge, or
Well, it's definitely not going to be pencil rolls, because
okay.
I have scars from pencil rolls. So pencil roll
Mhm.
skills, I got that. Um, I know, I think everybody's biggest fear is the pond. And
Mhm.
it's probably my biggest fear, because I know that water temperature is going to be, it's around like 37, something like that, like year round. It's
Yeah.
cold,
Yeah.
man. It's cold.
Mhm.
And like, you can train for that here, as like, I have a tub, I can fill it with ice as much as I want. It still will never be the same.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you can even go do cryo all you want. And it's like, yeah, that drops down to like what, -200, stay in there
Yeah.
minutes, boo, boo, boo.
Yeah.
But it will never, it's not the same. It's not
Sure.
the same. And I think like that's definitely something that I'm scared of, which means that my
Yeah.
ass is definitely going in that pond now.
Fair enough. What about on the other end? Is there anything like you're super excited about, or looking forward to being able to do out there?
Snowman.
Yeah.
I want to build a snowman. I want to make snow angels on the side of the mountain. Everything. I think like even the fact of getting in that pond is actually exciting. I never really been to an event where I haven't been excited for the whole of it. Like even the first one, I was excited. Like even knowing I was a nervous wreck, like I was still excited to do something. Like I'm facing fears. I have the ability to go and to participate and to do the best that I can.
Yeah.
And everybody has that, you know, like I have no excuses not to. Like I'm able. Like I've seen I think his name is Casey. He has no legs and he competes in Spartan races. Like,
Yeah.
no excuse. Like, there is no excuse that you can possibly come up with that, you know, you can't go, 3 miles. Like, there's just no excuse. And I think there's something that, is built up and made by fear. And it's like, okay, I can have this fear of this pond, but that's kind of like a rite of passage. Just like summer death race, the rite of passage is Bloodroot. And I'm a firm, like I stand by that 150%. Like that's an experience that is a must. So, winter, it's kind of like that is a part of winter death race is that water.
Yeah.
So bring it.
Yeah. Awesome.
They're gonna do give me a sandbag, like been there, done that, like it's gonna suck.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what if we fast forward, it's over, you finish it, you complete it, what's going through your head? Or is it just blank from everything you've just done?
I honestly, I don't know. I don't really know. Like to even sit here and to think like, wow, okay, I just completed winter death race as a Florida girl, which that name is probably going to stick with me for life. Thanks, Dawn. That's a huge accomplishment. And I don't know what I don't know what would happen. Like, I don't know what would happen when if like I finish and they hand me a skull, and I don't know. I would probably be overwhelmed with emotion. To be honest with you, it's never been about the skull. Really, like these events, I know like a lot of people, including myself at the beginning, was like, yeah, I want like the trifecta, and then it evolved to, it was more like, oh no, I do these for the lessons that come out of it. Like there's things that I learn from every single event that I can apply. And then I turn around and I teach them to my children. And that's huge. Like to look at my daughter when she's complaining about, I don't know, brushing her hair. I'm like, oh, you got a hairbrush. Like it could help. I could give you a fork like Ariel. Like, come on, girl.
Yeah. Like
you still have shoes on your feet. Like I had my shoes taken away at one point on the middle of the mountain, up in the boondocks. Like you still have shoes. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's just, I don't know. And to be honest with you, I probably will just keep coming back until I peel that onion completely, until I, get what I'm looking for, I guess, so to say. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. It's weird. Death race is a very, very weird, it's a weird experience that it's not like anything. It really isn't. Like you can't compare it to anything because of what you learn from it and how you grow as a human, and then how you look at every situation after when you come out. It's like there's like a calmness that's installed, and then you're like, oh, okay, we just move, we just go forward. So to sit here and say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna complete this, like I hope like hell I do. Like, to be honest, like that's a goal. Like, of course I want to finish. I want to be known as a finisher, of a death race finisher, whether it's summer, whether it's winter, whether it's, I don't know, but I definitely want to keep going and, eventually be considered a finisher. That would be epic.
Yeah. Well, you're just gonna have to come back and let me know once you're done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely, I'll shoot you a text and be like, hey,
Yeah.
and
Awesome.
then I go back for summer.
There you go. Never ending.
It doesn't. It's really,
Oh,
it's the journey.
yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
journey of it. It's where I'm at in the journey. And this winter is the next part of the journey. And I'm excited. I'm excited. Bring it all on. Bring on the wood chopping. I did finally figure out how to not choke the axe. According, working. It's a work in progress. It's all good.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, any last words of advice for anybody else thinking this, or for yourself, or yeah, anything?
Do it. Just keep going. Keep going and do it. You can do so much more than what all the walls and what your brain tells you. And there is so much more to life as soon as you let go of the fear of failing. Like, I learn more from failures than I do from succeeding. So, bring it on. If it goes down anyway, then at least I learn. You adapt and then you keep going. So if you're thinking about death race, you're thinking about endurance events, you're thinking about, doing an ultra, just go for it. Go for it. Do it. You won't regret it. It's not something that anybody regrets. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just weird.
No, no, I think that's perfect. So if anybody listening wants to maybe follow your story a little bit, is there any place they can go and kind of check out what you're doing, your progress, results?
Oh man. So I know that Spartan Extreme, they have all the information as far as like the peak races is death race. Spartan Extreme has all the hurricane heats, and I believe they do a gogi and they do cover death race so that they have like the video footage. They do like clippets and everything like that. And then I'm at Organic Live Art on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. It's just
Cool. I'll put some links in the show notes so people can check it out too, and hopefully see, depending on when they're listening, how you've done or how you're preparing, or anything that you might share out there.
well, I'm supposedly gonna go to the beach and wear my snowshoes to try to like break them back in. I
All
still have
right.
shoes. I love my snowshoes. That's gonna
Awesome.
on the beach running in snowshoes for.
Perfect. Well, Crystal, thanks so much for coming on and
Awesome.
sharing your experience, and hopefully this is going to help others kind of get out there and try some things that maybe scare them a little.
Absolutely. Just do it. Do it. I think it was Maverick, right? Maverick thing says, don't think, just do. Yes. Do that. Start thinking, all goes to hell. Just go do it. Live. That's why we're here.
Exactly. All right. Thanks so much again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You guys take good care. Thanks.